Bring in our political consultant and advisory board member of President Trump's re-election bid. Here he is, Harlan Hill. Great to see him. And, of course, a former Clinton campaign member, Jorge Silva, with us. Guys, I think we can agree in a bipartisan manner right now that nobody has big expectations for Congress. But, Harlan, they've got to get something done, and it looks like Harvey's the first thing. How quick do you think they can move this through?
Well, Cheryl, to your point, now is the time for Republicans on the Hill, both on the Senate side and the House of Representatives, to put up or shut up. And by shut up, I mean we're going to start firing some of them if they don't deliver. Because we're tired of the empty promises. We sent them to Washington to repeal and replace Obamacare. We sent them to Washington to come up with comprehensive tax reform. We sent them to Washington to step up during times of need, like with this funding bill for Harvey. And we're discussing, part of the discussion here is whether or not we're going to be able to continue to operate the government, whether they're going to continue to fund it. I mean, it's just unprecedented, the times that we're living in. And it predated even the Trump administration. It goes back to the Obama administration as well. We have a fundamental problem with governing in this country. And if we just can't get the basic operations down, how are we going to tackle these big problems that President Donald Trump ran on? Right. It's really concerning. And
I agree with you on that. But Jorge, remember that he's got his aides, he's got folks out there speaking for him. Listen to what Kellyanne Conway said about what the president wants to see done, and she was very vocal about it. She was on Fox and Friends yesterday. Listen to this.
The president has made very clear that he is here to help, and has made very clear that he will do what is needed, whether it's to implore Congress next week to come up with the funding for those who are affected.
And that's just on the funding, Jorge, for Harvey. I mean, they're also putting a lot of pressure on Congress when it comes to tax reform. Are they going to bow to that pressure, do you think, in particular the Democrats?
Well, I think that the hurricane definitely changed the winds in Washington. What we have seen before is that there were threats about shutting down the government, but with Harvey, everything is changing. We've seen that there's a willingness to actually work together, come together, and pass a relief package. Now, passing the budget is going to be a little bit more difficult. Raising the debt ceiling, the Republicans need Democratic votes, and of course they need to set the table for a tax reform or a tax cut package. Yeah. And it's going to be interesting to see if the Republicans are going to include Democrats in those talks, in those negotiations. But I'm hopeful that as we saw Texas come together to help one another, we see Congress here come together and actually put together a package that will provide relief to the people in Texas. Okay,
so we've got a little bipartisanship on Harvey funding, but Harlan, we may not have that same kumbaya feeling when it comes to the border wall and the budget. Listen to what Donald Trump said back in Phoenix on August 22nd.
Believe me, we have to close down our government. We're building that wall.
Yeah. If we're going to close down the government, Harlan, we're going to do it to build that wall. That was what he said. It's not like Donald Trump is known for somebody that really likes to back off or change his mind a lot. He's been saying this since the campaign.
Well, I want to go back to what Kellyanne Conway said, and she said that the president's prepared to do whatever it takes to start getting done some of these promises that both parties made to their constituents in the past election. And the president has been. I mean, I've said it on this program before. He's been sitting in the Oval Office with a pen in his hand, ready to sign a variety of legislation, from infrastructure spending to health care reform. But we need both parties to come to the table and start authoring legislation that can get bipartisan support if we need it, to start passing effective legislation for the American people. And I want to go back to something that you said. If Democrats really want to solve this problem, then they should start offering solutions, because it shouldn't just be incumbent upon Republicans to carry the weight of the United States government.
Well, Jorge, respond to that.
It will be nice to have Democrats invited to the room when these negotiations are happening. Not in the past. We've seen how many bills have been negotiated behind closed doors. But I want to go back to the border wall. The president has said that he was willing to shut down the government for funding for the border wall. I was really glad to see today that some members of the White House have been saying that that threat was no longer in place, that it's not time to be talking about a border wall when we have one of the fourth major city in the United States underwater. So I'm really glad that that is not going to be a threat that is going to be out there.
Well, we'll see, Jorge. We got to remind everybody that President Trump usually doesn't listen to many folks at all, and he usually does what he wants to do. And that's, I think he's talking about that wall. We'll see, though. Jorge, Harlan, guys, thank you very much.